Hello, Jordan.
What's up, Michael?
Congratulations to everyone who just joined the Fitness Business Mentorship at the deep discounted sale price. Pumped
Mazel
to have
tov.
you.
Mazel tov.
And to everyone who's already in the
you.
mentorship as well, obviously. Very, very happy with how things are going.
Yeah. We're excited to have you in there. We're excited that you took advantage of the sale. And we're excited that we're going to get to work with you for the upcoming year and hopefully beyond to help you get started with your business. So Mazel tov, congratulations. We are excited to have you. What do we got going on for the podcast, Mike?
Man, not a ton. Not a ton going on here with the podcast. I'm just going to have a little bite of this. Just a little.
Did you just put ketchup directly on a single French fry?
I did. I just got these McDonald's French fries.
You get those right now before the pod?
I did. I got them before the pod. I just, I see these people saying that if McDonald's French fries were made in beef tallow, we'd all be 7% body fat. But since they're made with seed oils, apparently that's why the average body fat percentage is in the 40s or whatever it is in the West. But I tend to think it has more to do with portion sizes, calories, but maybe it's beef tallow. Maybe if we replace all the PUFAs with beef tallow, is that how you say that word, tallow?
Dude, I think it's tallow.
Great. Tallow. One take show. Then maybe, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the PUFAs. We got to get rid of the unsaturated, replace it with saturated fat, keep calories the same, even though no study has ever backed this up, nor do any human outcomes. And yeah, we'll all just be super lean and healthy and live to 1,000. What do you think?
To be honest, number one, I completely agree with you. Number two is I've never seen anyone put ketchup on a fry like that before. If you're watching on YouTube, you individually put the ketchup on the single fry. You don't put it on like a plate or something and then dip it. You that's how you do it all the time? Or is that just for the show?
I don't have a plate. If you saw my workspace here, there is a bag of McDonald's and there is a thing of French fries, and it came with this individual ketchup packet. So McDonald's didn't give me a plate.
Got it.
I wasn't going to plate it when I got home.
Got it. Cool.
So that's what we're working with.
Yeah, dude. It's I'm literally halfway through a post on this right now for Instagram. Like I was making the video, and it was taking longer than I expected it to. So going to take some time off for we're doing 2 podcasts and a mentorship Q&A. Then I'll get back to that video. But yeah, it's very interesting how partisan this topic has become.
Can I intro before you go that way with it?
Sure. I mean, I don't even have to go that way with it. We could not go that way at all.
I think that's an interesting way and lets us be bipartisan. But the amount of non-fitness Twitter that is ablaze, today's November 19th, over the last 2 or 3 days over seed oils is outrageous.
Yep.
And the most interesting part to me, so Nassim Taleb, the guy who wrote Fooled by Randomness, Anti-Fragile, had a tweet where he made an analogy. I actually have it. I'm going to read it. He said, this dude, I have no idea who he is. Colin Wright is his name. Had what I thought was a very reasonable tweet. I'm not convinced seed oils are bad. What's the most clear and comprehensive study demonstrating their harm? And I was like, oh, interesting. Let's see what studies get linked below this tweet. He wasn't getting ratioed, but there were a lot of replies and a lot of negative replies and not that many likes on the tweet. And there wasn't a single study in his replies. There were a lot of people saying, do you need me to spoon feed you? Like, Google it. They're everywhere. Who needs a study? It's obvious. But there wasn't a single study linked in his replies. And there were, I want to say, hundreds of replies. So I thought that was interesting. And then Taleb quote tweeted him and said, I am not convinced that jumping without a parachute is bad. What's the most clear and comprehensive study demonstrating their harm? And
dear Lord, that's really disappointing.
Yeah. He's always had some very interesting takes around nutrition and fasting and like fasting at various lengths.
Oh, that
and,
makes sense. Okay.
Remember Tim Ferriss's concept around, it was essentially, they were very bare bones workouts. Like maybe all you did was deadlift and that was what you did for the workout. And Taleb adopted some version of that. He's had interesting takes around fit training and nutrition, but, and then I was going through there, and the amount of people who are super anti seed oils and think that they are the culprit for, I don't know, the majority of negative health outcomes over the last many decades is wild, combined with nobody following up with a single study.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there are no comprehensive studies done proving that they're dangerous, especially without without being in a caloric surplus, without like when you combine physical activity, eating appropriate quantities of food, an overall like healthy diet. There's no comprehensive study done showing that they're inherently dangerous at all. In fact, there are some studies that show they actually have health benefits. And it depends on which ones you're having and also in what quantities. But people just like, they really, really don't like to hear the nuance on this at all. And I think a lot of it is because their saviors online have come out hating on them, and whatever their savior says, then that's what they adopt and believe wholeheartedly, even if their savior isn't a nutrition expert, isn't a researcher, hasn't spent much time on this. They just take whatever someone else has told them. It's really crazy. And I was telling you on our talk this morning, in like 2017, I was routinely attacked by vegans, like just vehemently attacked by vegans. Anytime I would even mention eating meat, they would come after me and they'd be like, "How dare you mention eating meat? You should never eat meat. You're a murderer. You're genocidal. You're horrible." And now anytime I mention having a seed oil, that's what I met with. It's crazy because politically they tend to be the exact opposite side of the spectrum, but horseshoe theory, they meet, like they're actually the same people. And I met with the same vitriol. I met with the same anger, the same hate. It's absolutely extraordinary. The hate and anger, like I haven't experienced this level of hate and anger since then, specifically pertaining to something around nutrition.
And I know we don't really love naming names, but I genuinely don't know. So I'm curious, and this is no hate to these individuals, but when you say they're saviors, are we talking like big names in the carnivore space, or who are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, big names in the carnivore space.
Okay. So Saladino,
yep.
Sean Baker. Is Sean Baker anti-seed oil?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if he's anti-seed oil. I know he's very carnivore.
Like Liver King, is he anti-seed oil?
Yep.
So are a lot of them
also, Rogan, I'm almost positive, is pretty anti-seed oil. RFK, dude. So I'm making this video about RFK right now, and I'm getting a lot of clips that he's used. I just collected a bunch of clips, and like I say in this video, there are many things about RFK that I like and that I respect. When it comes to this, calling seed oils and a lot of these ingredients poisons and toxins is misleading at best and dangerous at worst. And dude, he time and time again calls them poisons and toxins. And it's in the same way that we spoke about during the election discussion, when I was like, listen, it's completely inappropriate to call Donald Trump Hitler. It's inappropriate because it leads to these massive issues where people are like, oh my God, he's actually Hitler. Well, if you're calling these things actually poisons and actually toxins, of course people are going to have these vitriolic responses to them because you've just led them to believe that they're literally poisoning themselves. And more importantly, they think they're poisoning their children. So of course people are going to have these vitriolic responses because they have someone who's now going to be leading the Department of Health and Human Services calling them poisons and toxins. It's very dangerous.
Is there any, the one summary of a meta-analysis that was within the last handful of years for sure, of 20 different studies on this subject, where several of which I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe did control calories and substituted types of fat. And there wasn't a negative outcome for those consuming seed oils versus those not consuming seed oils.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a really interesting hill to die on for a lot of these people.
Yeah. It just seems to be a fad right now. It just seems to be a big fad, and eventually it'll die off, and people will slowly and surely like sort of distance themselves from it. But for right now, people are brazenly putting out content. Oh, there's a little teeny bird on my window. They're brazenly putting out content, just making these claims that are unsubstantiated beyond belief, and they're really it's the Dunning-Kruger effect. They just believe it with every ounce of their soul, and it's really incredible.
Yeah. After they spend some time digging deeper, we'll come to the understanding that seed oils aren't the devil.
Yeah. And then it'll be interesting because here's what I think is going to happen. With the health at every size movement, we saw a lot of people basically being like, you can be healthy and super, super overweight, and that died off pretty quickly because many people ended up gaining a lot of weight. They went to that movement, they gained a lot of weight, and then their joints started hurting. They got it was difficult to move. Then their health started to decline, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is not healthy. And so that movement had a huge die-off, no pun intended. That movement had a huge, very few people are supporting that movement now. I have a feeling that when these people start removing seed oils and start removing these things from their diet, and they're still unhealthy, and they're still overweight, and they're still not the way they want to be, then they're going to be like, well, they're going to come back. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. My concern is I've seen a bunch of, especially in the carnivore crowd, basically now they're moving the goalposts, where now not only are saying that like seed oils are bad, but now they're saying, oh, and by the way, your cholesterol isn't important. You can have high cholesterol and that's not a sign of bad health. And so then they've moved the goalpost where they're now saying, like, okay, so you can eat all these other foods and your cholesterol can go up, your LDL can go up, but that doesn't mean you're unhealthy. It doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack. And then what we're going to see is some really, really, really bad shit. And that's my concern with this.
I feel like, and maybe these are separate discussions, but I feel like I've seen I've seen more intelligent voices, doctors who I respect, not say that LDL cholesterol doesn't matter for health, but maybe matters less than we thought it did 20 years ago for cardiovascular health compared to ApoB, for example, or compared to Lp(a). Maybe those are completely separate discussions, and I'm not, up to date in the last couple of years on LDL cholesterol and health outcomes / negative cardiovascular events, but I don't know.
They from what I've seen, and like I've spoken a lot with Spencer Nadolsky about it, Dr. Danielle Belardo about it, they influence each other. And so like you can tell a lot about one from the other. Yeah. So it's not like that they're completely separate, but to say that having super high LDL isn't a major risk factor is that's the example of misleading at best, outrageously dangerous at worst. And what I'm imagining is happening is people are noticing their cholesterol is going up while they're following these diets, and the people who are pushing these diets and these products are being like, oh, well, no, it's okay. It's okay for that, because they want to keep pushing that, and they're not willing to admit that they were wrong. They're not willing to lose out on money.
Interesting.
It's going to be very interesting next 25 to 50 years in terms of legalities, in terms of eventually lawyers are going to go look at someone's content and say, like, you caused this to happen based on the content that you put out there. I think it'll be a very interesting time frame as the laws start to catch up with social media. And then by then it'll be very different and things will have changed dramatically. But I think it'll be interesting to see if people are held accountable for pushing things that were very, very, very dangerous and against all science-based information.
Do you think that will happen?
Yes, I do.
Like people will be punished by the US government for like incorrect positions that they held years before and spoke about online?
Yeah, I do. I think especially if they harmed someone. And I mean, dude, people literally, they buy a coffee from McDonald's, a hot coffee. They spill the hot coffee on themselves and they get burned. Mm-hmm. those people have won millions and millions and millions of dollars. Like, that to me is more stupid than someone taking the advice of someone who's actually a doctor on social media saying you can have this type of a diet and saying vegetables are poisons and vegetables are toxic and you shouldn't eat this. Like, they're positioning themselves as a from a position of authority, and they're giving this what is essentially medical advice coming from a doctor. And to me, it makes more sense to go after that person legally than it does to go after McDonald's for giving the person a hot coffee and the person spilled it on themselves. Like, that's fucking wild, you know?
In that case, I do agree. And I don't have my finger to the pulse as well as you do. I don't know if everyone who's anti-seed oil is pushing a diet of 100 grams of saturated fat per day, or if some of the anti-seed oil people are pushing you the other way to what is a healthier diet of more monounsaturated fats, more of a Mediterranean style diet, which actually, like, again, seed oils still are not the devil, but
correct.
You could be against them and say, you know, more of XYZ and not just only eat animal products.
Yeah. And I think that would be, I don't think those people are going to be targeted as much as the more extremist versions of people who just gave false information and dangerous information. Like don't pay attention to this in your blood work just because your doctor said this in your blood work isn't an issue. Don't pay attention. You're fine. It's like, oh my gosh, that's very, very dangerous.
Yeah. I think you would also have to prove that they knew they were lying and were doing it anyway to make money and people were harmed. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, a simple one is, I'm not going to name any names, but the guy who wrote the book on the carnivore diet came out and said that while he was writing the book, he was having really negative health issues, and he still sells the book, even though he doesn't follow that diet anymore because he said it caused major issues. It's like, okay, so you've opened, like, the implications are pretty wild. Like, if I was that guy, I would take that book off the market immediately because he's setting himself up for some major, major issues.
Yeah, I don't know the legal system well enough to know if it makes sense to go after these people. I would bet against it, but time will tell.
I would, our society continues to become more and more litigious, and people can be sued and brought to court for essentially anything nowadays. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to see that happen.
But bro, like, does that mean that you and I could be sued for saying
of course.
That, huh?
Of course.
You think that you don't even know what I was going to say.
But we could be sued for anything.
Yes, in terms anyone can be sued for anything, but the prediction that these people will go down, so do you think that we will, and everyone who had the same ideas will go to jail for saying that you don't need to do cardio, you just need to lift weights, and that cardio doesn't have as many health benefits as runners say they do in like the 2010 range?
I think it's feasible. I don't think that's as plausible. I don't think that will happen as likely. But for example, I get many DMs every week, many DMs from people who say my father or whomever is following this diet because of this doctor they follow on social media. Is following this carnivore diet. His cholesterol is really high. His blood pressure is really high. And no matter what I say, he's just following this doctor on social media. I think one of these family members, after one of their fathers die, after someone dies, one of these family members is going to take it to court. I think that's going to happen.
Got it. I mean, I got you.
I think I think the likelihood of a family member being like, oh, well, this personal trainer said you don't need to do cardio, that I think is a step for many steps further away than someone being like, this doctor on social media is saying you shouldn't be having any carbs or fiber or vegetables or fruits, and my dad's blood pressure is really high and he continues to fall. Like, I think, and I mean, we see injury lawyers all the time. Were you injured? Did someone injure you here? Did someone injure you there? Like, it doesn't seem like a huge leap for me to hear someone being like, oh yeah, my father was injured fatally by the advice of this doctor on social media. That doesn't seem outrageous to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of an individual family member trying to bring something into court. I thought you were saying like the attorney general is going to go after all these people for doing this. It's
I think individuals.
Yeah, it makes sense. Wild times.
We're living in the Wild West right now, man.
Speaking of the Wild West, speaking of, you've got a book that you're reading.
Dude, that's what I was going to bring up, because the text I was sending yesterday, I was like, we're living in the Wild West, but also
the easiest times ever.
The easiest times of all time. Like the easiest, the most, we're so soft nowadays, dude. I'm reading this book on American history right now.
Read the text you sent me yesterday.
I'll read you the text. I'm in the middle of this book. I'm in the first couple chapters of this book.
It's a 55-hour book, so
it's a 55-hour book. I'm like an hour. I'm like almost 2 hours in. The text I sent you yesterday. I said yesterday at 3:59 p.m., completely unprompted, I said, "We have it so easy. Life is so good, it's ridiculous. These people came across on shitty boats in horrifying weather, not knowing if they'd even make it here alive. Many didn't. And once they got here, they were met with disease and food scarcity and harsh weather. Just insane. We're so soft."
Yeah.
Bro. And that's just like such a mild way of putting it, reading these stories of these people and these families who like went on these horrifying, unbelievably dangerous boat rides across the ocean. Now we've got these ocean liners. You've got planes. You're upset because there's a baby crying a couple rows behind you. Imagine babies dying on the boat. Your baby dying on your boat. Imagine people being thrown overboard. Imagine your boat like going, like running aground or tipping over, people throwing up everywhere, feces all over the place. You get mad now because there's a little bit of urine on the floor in the bathroom. Like, good luck living back then. Oh my, and then you get here. Oh, and by the way, there's malaria and you're starving. Dude, it was like 60 or 70% of the people who moved to Jamestown the first time, they starved. They didn't make it through the first winter. 60 to 70% of the people starved.
Man.
It's crazy. We live in the best of times. And I say this all the time. So people are like, can you please like help me understand this? Like, there you go. You're listening to this right now on your fucking phone, like in your home, in your apartment, in your car. Come on, dude. It is not to say we don't have our problems, but like we're cushy. We live cushy, soft Nerf lives.
Yeah. I mean, and which has actually led to a different set of lesser problems, which are problems of abundance.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like in the West, we're killing ourselves from overconsumption, not from starvation.
Yep. Dude, did you know people didn't used to name their baby until like about a year because infant mortality was so high?
Makes sense.
They wouldn't even name their child for like about the first year because they just didn't know if it was going to be around.
Didn't want to like become too attached.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like your chicken. You won't name your chicken or the food you're going to eat because you don't want to become too attached to it. You don't name your child for like the first year. And even then, I learned that in the book. Did you learn that in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Where's fear and anger for you right now?
I have to differentiate between anger and passion. I'm really passionate in this moment.
Okay.
But I'm angry at people for not understanding this too. So anger and passion sort of like almost go hand in hand.
Yeah. They get expressed similarly.
Yeah. Yeah. So passion is super high. Anger is pretty high. Anger's pretty high.
Let's put some numbers
but like
on
in
these.
A good way.
Passion's at an 88 out of 100 and anger's at like a 45.
No, I mean, if I'd say passion's at like 94.
Okay.
Anger's at like 82.
Okay. All right.
And fear is at like a 38.9.
Okay.
What about you?
I like that I guessed passion at 88 and you were like, no, like 94. Like that was such a terrible guess.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
That's how you know my passion's high right now.
Yeah. Yep. Where am I? Well, I told you I'm on this new cardio kick that has lasted 2 days.
2 days in a row, 100%.
2 days in a row of incline walking for an hour, which is a long time to, 10 degrees in the threes at speed, but definitely zone 2. My heart rate within 15 minutes is up over 125, 130 and stays in the 130 to 145 for 45 minutes. And that has me feeling a little more chill. I feel like a little bit lower energy, mood slightly elevated. So fear is a 12 and anger is a 16.
Interesting.
While I was doing it, anger was an 85.
Oh,
because,
I know.
Because I realized that it's almost like getting it out is how I used to view workouts and cardio especially. And so throw it on, throw some music on, and just like, this is not fun. I don't want to be doing this, but just trudge through and get that out of you. Yeah.
Yeah, you really threw it on me.
Bro.
You really dumped that anger on me. I'm wasting my time.
Coins, not time. Coins. What extroverts need to realize is, imagine you are in a room by yourself with no phone, no human interaction, no stimulation, sitting on the ground. Just imagine sitting like that. That's how introverts feel in conversation.
Yeah.
And so it's a delicate balance.
Dude, do you want to share that tweet you shared about meditation?
Sure.
That was a good one.
It hit my For You.
And you sent it twice. You're like, hey, just in case you didn't see this, you got to make sure you see this.
Did I send it twice? That means it popped up for me twice. When did I send it prior?
You literally sent it like just above the fold.
Yeah, I sent it on Sunday, but you didn't reply. So
yeah, I'm glad you sent it again.
Bro, the picture of Trump and Elon and RFK on the plane.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wait, did I send you the
meme version?
The boys posting a group pic at the strip club. The dude who told his wife he was at poker night. So funny. Okay, so this random tweet from, I don't know who or what this account is, met a longtime meditator today who told me his inner monologue vanished and he missed it and regretted losing it. Also that he missed having some anxiety/neuroticism because it's a useful source of fuel/drive. Meditation is great, but should come with a warning label. And the reason I saw it again is someone quote tweeted it and said, my biggest conspiracy theory is that like meditation is bad for you, like something to that effect. And then someone tweeted a page from a book of this monk, this like longtime monk who would spend hours and hours meditating every day, who ended up getting cancer. I'm just, I don't have the context here other than the highlighted pages of the one book.
Meditation gives you cancer?
No, but he was in his dying days and came to this realization that all of that time, and by the way, there's a difference between 20 minutes of mindfulness to like make you better and show up in life compared to this guy who spent all day meditating, I assume. And he was saying that it was actually selfish of him and he could have been spending that time, helping his wife with this thing or like family or whatever. And so I'm not anti-meditation. I might be slightly anti-transcendental meditation, but, and I know you are from your childhood experiences with TM. Yeah. But I
saw an interesting quote.
There's two sides. It might help you, but for some people it might not. And it's good to know whether it's benefiting you or not.
I saw an interesting quote in that thread because I got into it when I looked at it this morning, and someone was like, yeah, there's this picture of a monk who's meditating and just surrounded by mosquitoes, like thousands of mosquitoes are all over him. And he just doesn't care. He's sitting there, he's meditating. And the person's like, I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to be so okay with, like, I want to take action. I want to do something. And the way he framed it was a little bit different. But like, I think it's important. Like, there has to be a balance. You can't just be completely unresponsive. You can't just be completely, not about not being aware, but unresponsive, lacking action, just sitting there meditating. Like, you've got to do shit. And I think like you said, there's a difference between having 20 minutes, getting centered, enjoying the moment, learning how to maybe calm yourself down, not overreacting. But just like you don't want to overreact to stuff, you also don't want to underreact to stuff. And when you have things you want to achieve, when you want to bring light to this world, when you want to do something good, you have to come out of yourself, and you have to actually do things that will make you uncomfortable, do things that you have to take action. And I think I would imagine most people are not overdoing it on meditation, but maybe some people are.
I think way more people are overdoing it on
social media.
Yeah, on mindless consumption, and would benefit from. This actually reminds me of, by the way, I saw that as well and really liked it. It's like, no, I want to kill those mosquitoes. Like, I don't want to just be okay with them biting me. I want to kill the mosquitoes. And then, like, I'm not okay with having all those mosquito bites on my face. Do you remember from like 2013, RSD Tyler, the pickup dude?
Of course.
So he would have these long YouTube videos. It's been 10 years since I watched one of these. He would have these long YouTube videos
speaker
where he would just riff for like an hour and a half and upload it to YouTube. And it wasn't about pickup. It was about like life.
Becoming
basically.
A better person. Yeah.
And I remember him saying something to the effect of, you can find your life's meaning like sitting in a cave, meditating by yourself, or being out there taking action nonstop, constantly. And I do believe that that both paths are, what do you say? Like both are pathways to enlightenment. Like you can get there either way. And I think I am slightly more tilted towards action, like maybe 55-45 or 60-40 towards action. You're like 99-1 towards action on this one.
Yeah.
Just the way you're built, or whether it's nature, nurture, some combination of the two. Yeah. It was a good tweet.
Should we do Q&A?
Do you think you would benefit at all from not meditation, but maybe a meditative practice such as going for a 10-minute walk without a phone or any inputs?
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Would that be hard for you?
Yeah, that'd be super hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's not difficult though. Like when I'm with my wife and daughters, I have no phone or input. Like I'm very good about putting that away. But
they're
like
the input. They are the input.
Yeah. Like I don't need phone inputs, but having an input or having, you know what it is? Having someone else to give myself to is also really helpful for me. Like just being alone without something is very difficult for me. It's like, what could I be doing? Like, what could I be doing? Could I be giving myself to my daughters? Could I be giving myself to my wife? Could I be giving myself to others through my content? Could I be like could I be putting myself into study of history or whatever? Like, what could I be doing? That's like, I'm 99-1 to just be doing nothing.
You're more than 99-1.
Is very difficult for me. Super, super difficult.
Do you think there'd be any benefit to doing what you just referred to as nothing?
Literally none.
Cool.
No, there would be. I'm sure there would be, but like also there'd also be a cost. Right? You know what? For example, one thing I would like to get to a point of doing, because in our new place, we have a pond. Mm-hmm. And in the pond, I want to put fish. And I dream of a day in my life in which I can just go to the pond and fish without anything. Inputs? Yeah, without inputs. Would fishing count as an input?
Yeah, but I would call that very low in terms of stimulation.
Interesting. I'd like to do that. But you know what? My mind goes to, I'd probably have a podcast playing, or like an audiobook playing while I'm fishing, which is like, it's very difficult for me to just.
Do you have an inner monologue?
Yeah, of course. I know some people don't, which is pretty crazy.
I think a lot of people don't.
I forget. I think it's like 20 or 30% of people have no inner monologue. Like they just don't talk to themselves. I'm talking to myself constantly.
Yeah.
I'm in my head. I'm like, what the fuck was that? Do you have an inner monologue?
Oh, yeah.
What do you say to yourself?
What don't I say? Do
you have like a conversation with yourself? You're like, or is it more just like stream of conscious thoughts?
I have a conversation with myself if I want to.
Okay.
I think usually it's stream of conscious thoughts. But no, I'll ask myself questions and then answer, which is super weird because it's like, wait, am I the one asking or am I the one answering? I feel like I'm the one asking, and if I'm the one asking, then who's the one answering? And that's
Yeah. How often do you think to yourself, what the fuck, throughout the day? Just like you're just looking at something like, what the fuck? I say that to myself like a lot. I'm just like, what the fuck was that?
You sound like Rogan when you say that. I think way less than you. What's
like the most common thing you say to yourself?
I would have to live my life, pay attention to this, and then report back in a future episode.
Okay. Let's do that.
Okay.
I think at least like 50 times a day. At least 50 times. I'm like, what the fuck? Probably on the low. I need to count. I need to like count how many times a day. Like, what the fuck?
Track. Get a little tracker. Yeah, we'll rip a couple rapid fire Q&A.
What happens if you don't get enough protein? Thanks. From Bab Jacobs.
How little are we talking?
I don't know. Let's say you have someone who they should be getting a minimum of 100 grams and they get 50 grams.
Well, you're going to, all else equal, you're going to end up consuming far more carbohydrate and fat and probably more total calories, right? So from 100 to 50 grams of protein, it's 200 calories. You're going to end up consuming more than 200 calories worth of carbs and fats due to the satiating effect that protein has, helping you stay full. You will not build as much muscle as you otherwise would, or retain as much muscle as you otherwise would if you're in a deficit.
If you keep calories the same, you'll be hungrier.
Yep, that's an excellent point, Jordan. Do you know that would actually be interesting if someone was dialed on their calorie intake, but at like a body weight of $175 was eating 50 grams of protein per day?
Yeah.
That would be catastrophic.
Yeah, it'd be super. I mean, that'd be really difficult.
Because they're putting in all the effort of tracking and being on point with their tracking, but then not getting nearly enough protein.
They'd have to be like, all right, I'm just going to have, I don't know, just rice or like just...
Dude, people do it. People find a way to eat very little protein. Yeah, it wouldn't be good. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
But in that example, like 50 grams is not enough to... the negative health consequences would compile over decades, and I guess years and decades, but it's not an amount of protein where you're in imminent danger, right? It's not like you're going 2 years consuming 0 grams of protein.
Mm-hmm.
Although, I don't know, at 50 grams per day, if you're training hard, yeah, there's definitely going to be some gluconeogenesis in there, little muscle breakdown, conversion to fuel.
What are your thoughts on weighted vests?
We just talked about this morning.
You and I did?
We did.
We spoke about weighted vests this morning?
We did.
I don't remember that at all.
This was a mere 2 hours ago.
No, we didn't. We spoke about your cardio. I don't think we spoke about weighted vests.
Yes, we did. Because I talked about incline walk versus walking outside. If you're walking outside, you can add a weighted vest to get into zone 2. But when you're on a treadmill, you don't need to add a weighted vest because you can just incline it. And that's going to get you there. Mm-hmm. It's like, see, now when I say I'm wasting coins, I'm having this conversation with a guy who's not even remembering what we're talking about 2 hours later. It's like, I got to get back to my YouTube I'm listening to. He's asking me all these questions. I'm answering his questions, but he's not retaining the information.
Man, now you know how my teachers must have been so mad with me when I was a kid. They're like, I just fucking taught this kid this, and now he's saying he doesn't remember it. This is, I spoke about how I was in SPED growing up, and people are like, what do you mean you were in SPED? Like, yeah, like it's very difficult for me to remember something. It takes many repetitions of it over and over and over. Anyway,
weighted vests are a great tool to, the primary use that I see for weighted vests is getting into zone 2 cardio, doing outdoor walks. And so I'm a big fan of them for that reason. I guess you could argue that walking with a weighted vest also has a little bit of like bone mineral density, like a little bit benefit there too, right? You're just walking with a little more weight.
That's the biggest one for women, especially I would say, like in that perimenopausal area, like it's huge potential impact for women. If you're strength training, it's probably not going to make that big of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But like for someone who might not be strength training or who just wants some extra added weight to your walks, that is definitely an important one, especially for women around perimenopause. But
you wear a weighted vest when you walk?
Not all the time, but yeah, when I'm doing a dedicated walk for fitness, yeah, I'll wear the weighted vest. If I'm just out with the family, I'm not putting my weighted vest on. Or if I'm just even out going on a stroll while I'm doing a business call or something, I'm not putting the weighted vest on. But if I'm doing like a dedicated zone 2 or a dedicated walk, like yesterday, for example, I only had 20 minutes before my Inner Circle Live. And I was like, I'm putting this vest on and I'm going to get the most out of these 20 minutes. So yeah, if it's dedicated fitness, because it's just, you get added benefit with no negative.
How heavy is your weighted vest?
It's like 15 pounds or something.
Nice.
Anywhere between 10 to 20 pounds is fine. But yeah, there's no negative. There's only positive. And yeah, you burn more calories. And like that shouldn't be the main thing, but you do. You have greater energy expenditure for you're carrying more weight and you're over that distance. Bone mineral density, easier to get into zone 2. I think there's postural benefits to it. Like I can feel myself like I have to work to stay upright more, which like just that extra muscular work I've felt it is really, really nice. So I love it.
One more.
What are your thoughts on Anavar for women?
Bro, I have no idea.
Okay.
I wish I did too. And I know the name like steroid, D-ball, Anavar, Tren, Test, but Anavar I don't really know.
Listen, so for anyone who doesn't know, Anavar is a steroid. It's relatively mild compared to testosterone. It's relatively mild compared to D-ball or to Winstrol. And there are different effects of all of these different steroids. Each of them has a different effect. Anavar is relatively mild. Here's what I think. I think that if you are considering taking anything, you really have to ask yourself, is it worth the potential costs? And what is the best case scenario of this? Like, what's the best case scenario of you taking these drugs? And how will that change your life? And is that best case scenario worth the potential downsides? That's really the conversation you need to ask yourself, or you need to have with yourself. Even though Anavar is relatively mild, it doesn't come without its own risk. And I think one of the major risks of any of these drugs, whether it's, by the way, and they're not in the same class, but like whether it's a GLP-1, whether it's steroids, whether it's any drug, anything you're taking, what's the risk and what's the benefit? And in the best case scenario, are those risks worth it to you? I don't think for the vast majority of people, it's worth it. Especially, and this might be controversial, but especially for women. I think it's especially even more potentially dangerous. And there's an argument to be made that it's even more dangerous for men, especially with blood pressure issues and all of that, and like the cancer issues as a result of it. But my answer would be, I don't think it's worth it for the vast majority of people. Not to mention, where are you getting it from? Like, you're not getting Anavar from your doctor or your pharmacist. So it's like you're just trusting whoever's giving it to you, that they're giving you something that is, at best, a pure, clean form of it. But even then, it still has its own potential negative side effects. And even if it is purely clean and all that, like it could have real negative side effects. At worst, have negative side effects and not be a pure clean form of it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you really have to weigh out these pros and cons. And I don't think for the vast majority of people, it's even worth considering. I just don't.
Yeah. It's a great point on the sourcing of the drugs.
That's one of the scary things right now about, I mean, Theo Von made like a joke about it where he was like, can't even do cocaine in America anymore. And if you don't know Theo Von, he's one of the most hilarious comedians in the world right now. I think he's just hilarious because of his personality. But it's like the cocaine from the 60s and 70s is very different than the cocaine from today. And I mean, we've had hundreds of thousands of Americans killed from laced drugs that aren't actually the drugs that they say they are. I know people who've gotten what they thought were steroids when it wasn't actually steroids because they bought it from someone. And there was, I'm not going to name any names or I'm not even going to give any hints. I know people who were sold what they were told was steroids when in reality, in this case, they literally just put oil in a vial. They put olive oil in a vial and sold them. And you don't know what else they could have put in there. But number one, it wasn't even effective. They didn't do anything. They were just injecting olive oil into themselves. And like, that's a best case scenario because at the very least, like it's probably not going to harm you. But I mean, you never know. You could probably hurt yourself injecting olive oil into your muscle.
Dude, or grapeseed oil. Imagine if that was a seed oil.
Dear
like, it'd be awful.
Yeah, it's. I just don't think it's worth the risk for the vast majority of people.
Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, please take 47 seconds out of your day to leave us a 5-star review. We would greatly appreciate it as we try to grow the pod. Like that YouTube video, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Have a good one.